Hi everyone, it's Kim Vopni, the fitness doula, and I'm here today to teach you the core breath. This is an exercise that I provide to every single one of my clients, whether they're pregnant, a new mom, or 20 years postpartum. It helps restore the form and function and the anticipatory action of our inner core. So we target the pelvic floor, the breathing diaphragm, the transversus abdominis, which runs around us like a corset, as well as the little muscles in our spine called our multifidus. So what I want you to do is find a place to sit. I like to have people sitting on a stability ball, which is what I'm sitting on right now. You might not be able to see it, but the roundness of the ball, because it presses up into the pelvic floor, is a really good way to get that sensory feedback. And when you're sitting, what I want you to do is find, I call it a tripod or your 3 points sitting, and what you want to do is find your sit bones and your perineum. So when I'm sitting, if I turn sideways like this, I should have a gentle curve in my back. If I was sitting with a tucked under tailbone, my back would flatten out and look more like this. So what I want you to do is come off of the tailbone, find those sit bones. If you need to, you can also spread the butt cheeks apart so you can find those bones, and then sort of feel for your perineum, or the fleshy part close to your vagina as well. We don't want to be right on top of our pubic bone, but we want kind of the perineum and those two sit bones to be our 3 points of reference. Then what I want you to do is I want you to take one hand, I want to put it on your side ribs, and the other hand you're going to put on top of your belly. And typically I have people close their eyes so that, one, they don't see me watching them and feel intimidated, but also just helps them, again, connect internally. So if you want to close your eyes, watch the video a couple of times first, and then you can just listen to the voice afterwards. But you have your hand on your side ribs, your hand on your belly, closing your eyes, and I just want you to breathe for just a couple of breaths. Just take a breath and just notice where your breath goes as you inhale and exhale. Just notice and see if you feel anything. So take a couple of breaths. And then what I want you to do is now think about breathing into your hands. So we want, as we inhale, for our rib cage to expand. We want our belly to expand a little. Unfortunately, most of us breathe up here, and what we do is we typically lift and we sort of suck in our belly, and that's actually reverse to what we want to have happen. We want this to stay pretty quiet. We want our ribs to expand. We want our belly to expand. We want to kind of fill ourselves up. Like this area is almost like a canister that's getting filled up with air. So by putting your hands here, it gives you, again, another point of reference where you can connect mind-body and send your breath there. So why don't you take a breath in and send it into your hands. Good. You can also take your hands together. You can put your fingertips in front, and then as you take a breath in, you should be able to feel those fingertips, or see them if you sit in front of a mirror, pull apart. And then as you exhale, they would come back together. So nice inflation. You want to think about that rib cage expanding and opening up, okay? So just take a few breaths in there. Just inhale, breathing into your hands. Feel your belly move out. Feel your rib cage expand sideways. And just connect with that on an inhale for just a few breaths. Good. Now bring your awareness to your pelvic floor. So again, the roundness of the ball. If you don't have a ball, you can straddle a bolster, or you can sit on a chair with a round towel underneath, something that will press up into your perineum to give you some feedback. So as you breathe in, just feel almost like a sense of fullness in your perineum. You'll feel more awareness of the surface of the ball. Think of some space between the sit bones as your pelvic floor expands to allow that air to come in. So just take a couple of breaths now. Again, just inhale, expanding here, but also expanding down your belly and your pelvic floor. So your pelvic floor is not moving downwards, it's just expanding to allow that air to come in. So just connect with that. Inhale and expand for a few breaths. Good. Now bring your awareness to your exhale and feel the difference now. So as you exhale, you want to feel less fullness, less sense of the surface of the ball in your perineum, less space between the sit bones as the pelvic floor is gently lifting as you exhale. So you want to inhale and expand, and as you exhale, feel the pelvic floor lift. Your belly is going to move inwards towards the belly button, and you'll feel your ribs soften and return back. Okay, so inhale and expand. And as you exhale, the belly moves in, the rib cage softens, and you'll feel less fullness on the surface of the ball. So just connect with that for a few breaths. Inhale and expand. And exhale. And what's happening as you exhale is your core is actually engaging. So we'll say inhale to expand and exhale to engage. Good. And now what I do, once people have connected with the difference between what's happening as they inhale, they've got that expansion happening, the breath is flowing in, and then as we exhale, the core is engaging, the pelvic floor is lifting, the belly is moving inwards to meet that, and the core is engaging to support our spine and pelvis. So when they've connected with that movement, I then give them a few cues that they can use to help kind of heighten that awareness of the movement of the pelvic floor. So some people doing a Kegel is enough. Some people perform a pelvic floor contraction. They can do that as well. Slowing the flow of urine will work for some. Some of the more odd cues that I have maybe that work for some people is imagine sipping a milkshake through a straw with your vagina. A jellyfish is a good visual. So if you think of a jellyfish sort of swimming softly in the water, and as it gets ready to propel itself towards the surface of the ocean, it comes together and it lifts up, and then it softens. And then it comes together and it lifts up. So if you can apply that movement to your pelvic floor as well, as you inhale and expand and it softens, and then as you exhale it's coming together and it's lifting up. So other cues that work for people, lift your perineum up to the crown of your head. Some people it might prevent yourself from farting. Sometimes it's prevent yourself from peeing or prevent a tampon from slipping out. So there's lots of different cues. What works for one is not going to work for another. What I do suggest though is to go and see a pelvic floor physiotherapist. They can do an internal exam and they can use a couple of cues, whether they're these ones or they will have their own, and they will help you connect best with your floor. So it's what you feel the best, but also if you're being assessed internally, it's what is actually working the best as well. So it's really a key piece, I think, in terms of pelvic floor wellness to go see a pelvic floor physio. But let's go through that core breath one more time. So taking your hands on your side ribs, one hand on the belly, I want you to inhale and expand. Feeling the pelvic floor lower as the diaphragm lowers. So the diaphragm and pelvic floor are moving together here. Okay, so let's inhale and expand. Good, and exhale. And add in that cue. So as you inhale and expand, you can prepare and for whatever cue you're going to use. And then as you exhale, I want you to add in that jellyfish swimming or sipping a milkshake or preventing a tampon from slipping out. So each time you take a breath when you're exhaling, I want you to think of one of those cues and just work through all of them and see which one works the best. So I want you to inhale and expand, exhale, and engage your core. Something else you can try as well is you can try pursing your lips and blowing out. So as you exhale, pretend you're blowing through a straw or like you're blowing out some birthday candles. And what that does is it just sort of heightens that connection and that contraction of the pelvic floor and the transversus abdominis. Good. I'm just going to turn to the side so that you can see what's happening here as well. I want you to watch yourself in front of a mirror and just pay attention to what's happening to your body as you do this. So I'm going to have my hand on my side ribs, my other hand on my belly. Actually, let me do this one for you. It's easier for you to see. So you're going to inhale and expand. You can watch what's happening in my belly, but also pay attention to what's happening here. This will be quiet. Nothing is happening. Nothing's moving. You don't see any flattening or what have you. All the movement is going to be in my rib cage, into my belly, and in my pelvic floor. So I'm going to inhale and expand. And as I exhale and engage, my pelvic floor is lifted and my tummy's moved back in as of my ribs. Nothing has happened back here that you can visually see. The muscles are engaged back here, but I'm not flattening out to bring my tummy in or to lift my pelvic floor. So I'm going to inhale and expand. And again, inhale and expand. And exhale to engage. And one more. Good, so that's the core breath. Safe to use in your pregnancy. When you are pregnant, you can think of, when your tummy's moving in, you can think of gently hugging your baby and your pelvic floor coming up to kind of give it a nice gentle lift and hug. Postpartum, you can do this minutes after you've given birth, 24 hours after you've given birth, as soon as possible. And what it does is it helps retrain that anticipatory action of our core, and also it's retraining those muscles to function as they should. So you've got the right posture, and that allows the transverse, the deep abdominals, and the pelvic floor to naturally strengthen. Okay, so it's a really key restorative exercise. It's always the very first go-to exercise I have, and then it's something that I would layer in to their other movements as they progress. If you have any other questions, please visit fitnessdoula.com, send me an email, call anytime. I'd be happy to help. Thanks so much.